This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Luke Sylvia and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic. What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is July 6, 2023. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Luke Sylvia. Luke, what's going on, bro? How was your fourth?
Fourth was good. Went to my parents' house. My dad got this giant inflatable slide for all the grandkids, which turned into also being used by a lot of the adults. Always a good time. And only one injury occurred, so it's all right. You know, it was a good time. A lot of good food, burgers, obviously, cake. My dad's big thing now is freaking just making sundaes. So he's got like tons of ice cream, tons of toppings, and it's a mess because there's like 8 grandchildren and they're all going through the line and their countertops are disgusting afterwards. It's a great time. How about you? Did you grill some burgers and dogs or what?
I've transferred, transitioned, I guess, from typical hot dogs. I used to be a big ballpark beef franks kind of guy, and now I think maybe we talked about this last week or last episode. I'm all about the brats now. So fired up a few Johnsonville brats and some bacon and cheddar Bubba burgers. If you don't know about the Bubba burgers are where it's at. They're frozen, but you throw them on the grill. Fantastic, absolutely incredible. And then
you made some fire burgers went at your housewarming party as well.
Bubba burgers. They were Bubba burgers. So
fire.
That day, I was on the grill like 3-4 hours straight that day. When you're the guy on the grill at a party, your number one priority is just don't ruin the food.
That's right.
Because
can't do that.
I don't care how great a party is. If the food sucks, everything sucks.
That's true.
You're taking a big, responsibility when you're the grill master at any kind of event. But hot dogs, burgers. End of the night with the little drumsticks. Introduced the little ones to some drumstick ice cream cones, and they just could not believe that you can put chocolate and peanuts on top of ice cream, and then more chocolate and caramel in the middle, and then chocolate at the end. They were just mind blown. And then we ended the night with some poppers. You just throw them on the ground and they explode or whatever. And that was, my 4th of July used to be a lot more exciting.
That's right. I
should say. So just highlight of my 4th of July was getting sunburned, even though I reapplied sunscreen 3-4 times. I'm still red. So, it's what happens, I guess. But no, it was a good time, and I hope that all of you had a fun and happy and safe 4th of July. Just to give you guys a reminder, this Saturday, the 8th at 5:30 Eastern time is going to be the Orlando Magic's first Summer League game. A little bit later in the show, we're going to talk about the Orlando Magic Summer League roster. But for that game at 5:30 on Saturday against the Detroit Pistons, we're hosting a watch party on Playback. So if you are not familiar with Playback, it's essentially like a watch party platform where you can watch a number of different things, but primarily people use it to watch sports together. So we're basically creating our own little community on Playback. Producer Kevin is going to be hosting that. We're going to have some special guests on that broadcast. So if you guys haven't seen it already, you can go to our Twitter to find more information, to find the links. We're going to be sending out those links as Kevin is going live on Saturday. But you all have a chance to be part of the show. There's a live chat feature. You can also join the speaker on stage. So who knows? Maybe it gets a little bit crazy. Maybe Kevin brings some of you up on stage during the Playback. So be on the lookout for that. Again, that's going to be Saturday at 5:30 Eastern when the Magic take on the Pistons. And it's really cool just because the whole community gets to watch the game and experience everything together. So something goes crazy. Jet Howard has 30 points and Anthony Black has a triple-double, in his first Summer League game. Well, you'll all be there kind of experiencing that together. So that's the cool part about Playback. So looking forward to that. And then, Luke, we got some more news today about the NBA in-season tournament that is going into effect this season. The Final Four of that tournament is going to be taking place. I'm pulling up Woj's tweet right now about it. That's going to be December 7th and 9th in Las Vegas. It's going to be the Final Four. I think we're going to find out more information. ESPN is having an in-season tournament launch show on Saturday on ESPN at 7:30. That's taking place in Las Vegas. Our very own Paolo Banchero is going to be featured in that. My guess is we're going to learn like all of the details and sort of like the scheduling and how all of that is going to work. But they announced the Final Four is going to be December 7th and 9th in Las Vegas. And then he added this little point at the end saying statistics will count for the league's regular season game except for the championship game of the event. So I don't know if that means just like the first game of the Final Four, like the semifinals will count during regular season stats, or like all of this kind of in-season tournament will count for regular season stats. A little bit confusing. I don't know why you would have some games but not others. Like I thought the point of this was, I guess, all teams are supposed to play the same amount of games, but if you're doing this, it seems like 4 teams are going to be playing more than 82 games, so I don't really like totally understand it. It seems kind of confusing, Luke.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The Magic are going to win it, and that's all I know. So
I don't really love the Final Four being in Vegas. Like I know obviously at some point there's an expansion team coming to Vegas, probably most likely Seattle as well, unfortunately. But the fact that like you're not playing these on like teams' floors is kind of lame. Like I would love like an in-season tournament championship to be played like on the Orlando Magic's home floor. Like having to travel across the country to go to Las Vegas to watch like the in-season tournament championship, that doesn't really get me all that excited. I don't know about you.
yeah, I think that they're just trying to be the exact opposite of the postseason, so that it feels like there's a reason for it and whatever. I get what they're doing, because in the playoffs someone's going to have an advantage because you've got obviously your team has home court advantage or whatever it might be that means that they get the 7th game of the series. So they're just trying to rule out all type of advantages so that maybe smaller teams or teams that don't have as crazy crowds or as much home court advantage. I don't really know the reasoning, but I think that we see 1 or 2 years of the neutral stuff, and if it doesn't work, I would like to think the NBA has become so I don't even know, just pioneering new things for the league itself. That Adam Silver's doing this. I would like to think that he'd be pretty reactive to make changes as seen fit. So see how it goes. I'm willing to give it a year or two before I'm out on it, but I'm intrigued, no doubt. I'm interested to see really how the teams are going to handle it come like the finals, right? Like, and are players going to play every game? Are you going to see some players that just kind of sit out for the first couple rounds or whatever, just to preserve their bodies like they would anyway during a season? I'm very interested to see how it's all managed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. So again, that's going to be on Saturday at 7:30. And again, our boy Paolo Banchero is going to be involved in that somehow, some way. Don't exactly know what that looks like, but looking forward to seeing that. Luke, now that we're a few days kind of removed from the Orlando Magic's free agency decisions, I guess we can talk a little bit about the Magic have now waived Bol Bol. We talked about that on the last episode, that since they had moved back the kind of deadline date for his guarantee, that the writing was on the wall that he could potentially be waived. At least that's kind of was my perspective of the situation. And now Tuesday was officially waived by the team. So they waived Bol Bol, fully guaranteed Markelle Fultz and Gary Harris's contracts for this upcoming season. They picked up Goga Batadze's team option for this season, and then they declined Admiral Schofield and Michael Carter-Williams, with going out and signing Joe Ingles to the 2-year, $22 million deal. The second year of that is expected to be a team option. And then the 2-year, $16 million deal for Mo Wagner. Again, the second year of that. There's speculation that it could be a team option. We're still kind of waiting to hear the particulars about that. I've been watching Spa Track. I haven't seen that updated just yet. But really, the biggest pieces of this seem to be waiving Bol, bringing in Joe Ingles and Goga Batadze and Luke. Where are you at now? Like, now that we've had a few more days to process and kind of let that marinate, how are you feeling about the Magic's free agency in general?
I think really the number. Also, I'll add this real quick before I continue. As you guys are listening to this, we're definitely going to start hearing details of contracts today. As you're listening to this, July 6th. So stay tuned, I'm sure, to Orlando Magic PR, whatever, on Twitter, as we find out more details and find out for sure which contracts are team options. We can pretty much trust that the ones are going to have them, like we've heard reportedly. The other thing, as far as how I feel about free agency, there is one thing I want to address. I've heard a lot of people griping about Mo Wagner and him, being signed to the deal, and what are we doing, and why didn't you go get Plumlee, things like that. And the thing I want to say is that why do you think Mo Wagner? Why do you think that news was taken longer to announce than the other deals, than Joe Ingles, than the options that you pick up that you decline? It's all because the Magic were trying, I'm sure. You're telling me that Mason Plumlee got $5 million and didn't get an offer anywhere else? I think that the Magic probably offered him what they offered Mo.
In fact, it was reported that he was offered more money elsewhere and wanted to stay with the Clippers.
There you go. So he definitely got, I would think the Magic offered something for any backup, big quality kind of guy, Plumlee included. He was one of the ones out there, right? So I think the Magic, that's why. And so I'm kind of tired of seeing people talk about Mo Wagner. So that's kind of, that feeling as well, just on free agency with Mo Wagner. Overall, I feel great about him and about the free agency. Sorry. Joe Ingles, obviously you bring in a versatile shooter, someone that's going to make plays. And so I'm super excited about what that's going to mean for this team coming season. Yeah,
it's definitely like they didn't make any big splashes. Very obviously, nobody really expected them, at least in the Magic universe. People that follow the team closely, nobody really expected them to go out and sign a big name free agent. There are some people that wanted that, and just respectfully, and I think the front office's actions align with the thinking that it's just not quite time for that. But if I had to give it like a grade, I would give it like a solid B. It wasn't an A because of the fact that you weren't really able to shore up the depth at the center position and even upgrade at that position. Like bringing in Joe Ingles, much needed bench depth, much needed shooting on this roster, and just kind of running back the backup rotation of what I'm going to guess is going to be Goga and then Mo Wagner, kind of behind that. And honestly, I don't even know if that's necessarily the case. Goga's great. You're only paying him, I think, $2 million this next season. Mo Wagner is going to be making $8 million. The amount of money that guys make shouldn't really dictate the rotation in the NBA, but we know that that's not always the case. Sometimes guys play just because they are making more money than other guys. So it'll be interesting to see how Mosley's rotations kind of shape out. But that's just kind of the one like glaring thing to me is like we had an opportunity to make a real upgrade at that position, weren't able to close the deal for whatever reason. Once you sign Joe Ingles, you would price yourself out of Brook Lopez, but you look at other guys, Eubanks going to Phoenix, Thomas Bryant going to Miami, Plumlee staying with the Clippers. It just feels like the Magic kind of, maybe they just didn't see it as a priority and perhaps weren't as aggressive as maybe we would like them to be. But I'm sure they're fairly comfortable with just bringing those guys back. It doesn't seem like they're going to be making any other type of move there. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about this with Mo Wagner, and I didn't bring it up really on the last episode, but we talked earlier in the off season about all these different options that they had to make. And, going into free agency, Mo Wagner was really your only true free agent this summer, a guy that really could have signed elsewhere if he wanted to, but his and aside from the connection with Franz, like just his kind of demeanor and leadership qualities and the way that he speaks about the culture of this team, I've always loved him for the locker room. And I think it's great that he's back because I do think he brings a level of, perception to this team to kind of keep them level headed at times. He's been in other locker rooms around the league. I guess we're going to be referring to guys like him and Markel and J.I. as the vets on this team, even though it may not necessarily feel that way. But I think for maintaining the culture of this team, bringing back Mo Wagner, I don't think that can be really overstated. I'm super excited about that aspect, but yeah, that's just, and I see some people like commenting like, we are not giving Mo Wagner like enough respect. Like, let's just call it what it is. Mo Wagner can be really advantageous in certain matchups, but he is kind of a tweener, like a 4-5. We've said this. He's not quite quick enough to guard fours, not quite big enough to guard fives. Like defensively, a lot of nights he's at a disadvantage. So if you're telling yourself that you couldn't have found a better option to be like in a backup center role than that, I would just kind of disagree there. But again, really happy that Mo Wagner is back, and I now that Bol is waived, I guess that's the other part that we need to talk about here. Just were you shocked at all?
Really quick, I just want to add this: when you're talking about not adding a backup big this offseason, it's very imperative to continue to note the contractual opportunities the Magic have with the team options. Right, Goga's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Mo, you have the opportunity to not pick up his option, and then you set yourself up to sign a backup center next offseason. I just don't think that it was an urgency, and I don't think that they needed to really upgrade to improve this year compared to last year. You got guys in free agency next year, unrestricted wise. This is not including the restricted guys who you could probably throw a bag at. But unrestricted, you got Xavier Tillman, Zach Collins, Kim Birch, Valanciunas, Hartenstein, Nick Claxton, Luke Cornett, and then Zeller, Plumlee, Mason Plumlee again, and Robin Lopez, which probably not going to run that one back. But the point stands. I think you can still get a decent backup next summer. I don't think it's a rush. You set yourself up, and I think the contracts tell us all we need to know. That backup center will be something that's on the table absolutely next off season because you got the flexibility to do so.
Well, kind of back to when we were talking, like right before free agency, when Brian Windhorst was saying like there's some thoughts around the league that the Magic may be a little bit more willing to kind of step on the gas. And my point was, well, if you just kind of look at the context clues and what they're doing in the draft, it doesn't really seem that way. And them being kind of willing to run that back, and although they did a great job maintaining like their long-term flexibility, bringing those guys back and not being more aggressive and upgrading at that position tells me that they're not quite there yet, where they're kind of pressing the gas on the
rebuild. They couldn't get anybody. I just think that's what it boils down to. Like, I'm sure they tried, but you wanted to bring in Joe Ingles. Obviously, it showed their priorities did lie within shooting. And you probably tried with the money you had to get a backup big, and nobody wanted to come. And that's fine, because once the Magic win 45-plus games next season, backup bigs are going to want to come for a little bit more money even. So I think that I refuse to believe that they didn't try, but they got the guy they wanted, which was Joe Ingles, right? Primary target number one. And then you just kind of settle with whatever happens the rest of the way. And you knew that you were probably going to run it back if you did sign somebody like Joe Ingles, just because these other guys aren't going to go with you for $2-3 more million to play for a team that didn't really win last year.
And yeah, I'm not even necessarily saying that they didn't try. I feel like if that was really the goal to push the team forward, they probably would have been a bit more aggressive. And does that even look like free agency? Not necessarily. Like if you were really trying to push this team forward, we probably would have seen like a little bit of like consolidation. Maybe that's coming later on in the offseason. But I would be pretty surprised at that point. I feel like they're and leading up to the draft, them talking about continuing to evaluate young players. That doesn't and not skipping steps. That doesn't sound to me like a team that is all of a sudden going to make big moves to marginally improve the roster if they're just hell-bent on, making the playoffs next year or, getting the 6th seed or the 7th seed. At this juncture, I don't see any reason to press the gas just yet. Like you mentioned, all of these deals that they made preserve the long-term flexibility going into next summer. So next summer, if they are ready to take that step and press on the gas a little bit to move the team forward, as we're all hoping and expecting that they are next season, they'll still have the cap flexibility to do that. Are they going to, are they going to re-sign Markelle? Are they going to extend Cole Anthony? Are they, going to extend Jonathan Isaac? Like all of these, questions that have popped up. And if the answer to some of those is no, the Magic are going to, again, have a lot of cap space next summer. So, but yeah, Bol, that news coming out that the Magic were waiving Bol. What are your thoughts on that? Were you surprised by that at all?
Maybe slightly, but I mean, the stance that you and I had on it leading up to really probably until a few weeks ago was the last time we talked about it. We would have been surprised if Bol didn't just get, stay on the roster, just given that it wasn't much money. But after you draft 2 guys that are rookies, you pick up a free agent, you retain some other people, the space on this roster just dwindles. And maybe at some point, Bol was like, I maybe had a conversation and said, I'd rather go somewhere where the minutes are more clear. I don't know where that's at for Bol. I think he's going to have to go to some pretty bad teams that are willing to let him develop his IQ on the basketball court and some other things he needs to work on. But I do wonder if that was a conversation internally, because I was listing out like kind of our depth chart, possible lineups. There's just not, it feels just like last offseason, but heightened. Last offseason, my points rolling into the season were like, where are all these minutes going to go? And then you had things like RJ Hampton getting dealt, Chuma Okeke basically played out of rotation. And now you have even more cases for people that need minutes. You bring in Joe Ingles that we think could limit Jet Howard's minutes, absolutely. So there's just a lot of confusion on where minutes are going to go. And I think what it really boiled down to was they didn't have minutes for Bol. And he's the one that they wanted to least focus on to develop. It was probably just one of those things where they did him a favor, said, go test out the market yourself. We're going to waive you. Do whatever you need. Get minutes wherever you can. We're not really prioritizing your development, and you're not going to get minutes here. So that's probably what it ultimately came down to for him.
Yeah, I guess maybe we should have saw the writing on the wall for this, like after the draft, like when the Magic added 2 guys in the draft, because we knew that the roster spots, especially if the Magic did anything in free agency, were going to be hard to come by. Now, did we see them going out and signing a veteran and also re-signing Mo Wagner and keeping Goga and everything like that? Like, not necessarily. The reports are that the Magic were trying to move Bol draft night and were unable to do so. It wasn't surprising when the news came out, I think because of the fact that they had already pushed back the guaranteed deadline, and that kind of gave us a hint of what could be coming. But if you asked me, like, a week ago, would I be surprised by the Magic waiving Bol? I think I would have, just because of the fact that he was set to make $2 million this year, showed a lot of potential last year, showed even more mistakes. Let's all be honest and be clear about that. But yeah, once the roster spots started to go, somebody else had to go. Not just Michael Carter-Williams, not just Admiral Schofield, but Bol. And I'm sure he's going to get another opportunity somewhere. Tons of potential still. If he can, figure out how to contribute on a consistent basis and make less mistakes, he can be a really, really good player and contribute to a good team. But the Magic, there's only so many guys that they can develop. They're still developing Paolo. You're still developing Franz Wagner to a certain extent. Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, now Anthony Black, Jet Howard, Goga, I'm sure to a certain extent. There's only so many guys that you can develop at a time. And there just really did not seem to be a route to minutes for Bol Bol next year, barring multiple injuries. And at that point, you'd only be playing him because you absolutely have to. What is most surprising to me, and maybe it shouldn't be because he does have almost like a cult-like following because he's such a polarizing player, is I'm like a little bit surprised at some of the outrage that I'm seeing about this. That people just cannot believe that we moved on from Bol Bol, who, yes, did show incredible flashes. Bol Bol can do things on a basketball court that maybe like 5 guys in the world at his size can do, but it doesn't make up for the mistakes that he makes and the things that he cannot do on the floor. So it sucks. I liked Bol Bol. He was much better than you and I ever thought possible. We thought last year that he would never play, and we were wrong about that. Last year with the Magic, averaged 9.1 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1.2 blocks, shot 54% from the floor, 26% from the three-point line. Bol Bol, part of the unicorn mythology around Bol Bol, is that he's this 7'2" guy who can, dribble like a guard, rim protect, and shoot the ball. I feel like if he shot the ball better here last year, maybe you could talk yourself into keeping him here, but it's just not really living up to that piece of his potential, and all of that together, it just kind of made sense that Bol Bol would be the guy out.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about our patrons. So this episode is brought to you, I should say, by our wonderful patrons. If you haven't heard already, you can find us at patreon.com/the6man show, where for as little as $2 a month, you can help financially support the show. We have other tiers of benefits, like our elite tier, where you can get discounts off of regular season home Orlando Magic tickets. So if you're in Orlando, you like going to Magic games, and you want to get discounted tickets, you can join our elite tier on our Patreon. Again, patreon.com/the6man show. Today we do have not a new patron, but our boy Jonathan Borges went into our Hall of Fame tier at the annual level. Just said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and pledge the entire year. So a big shout out to our boy Jonathan. Really, really appreciate that. Great name, by the way. And as always, we shout out our Hall of Fame tier and elite tier patrons each episode, which will start with Court Cousins, Drew Gooden, Armin, Carson Tulo, Jonathan Borges, Normal, Magic Player History, Gabe Gaines, Magic Static, Michael Martin, Jamel Miller, Michael Salapong, The Distract, Donkey Punch Dave, Paolo and Francis, Warmth, Pierre A, Nostalgia and M&M's, Dylan Holden, Mr. Mikey, Eduardo Sanchez, Drum, Danimal, Duddo, Bobby Skinner, Goody 93, Teddy Sylvia, Eric Lopez, Fuchsia, Juan Geraldo, Bill Fulton, Edmund Lagone, Jose Esquilin, Destined for Greatness, Caleb Pete, Cannibalism, Time, Mr. TV, ESPN Really Sucks, Gear 95, Shred, Junior Bruce, Half Freakin', Shahin 177, Bobby the Don, Himlo Ben Himro, Arm Prof 221, Ray Pastrana, Magic Kid 714, Spank Too Hard, Soft Taco, Jesse, Fuego Nando, Victor Cologne, Phantom 72, Irish Magic Mike, Austin Lampy, Random Hustle, Only Franz, Maria, Keith Wallace, Fritz, Currency Kev, Bruv Sal. A big thank you to all of our patrons. You can find us at patreon.com/the6man show. Luke, today we got a pretty big, unexpected announcement that general manager of the Orlando Magic, John Hammond, is going to be transitioning into a senior advisor position within the organization, as Jeff Weltman announced on Wednesday. And Jeff Weltman is promoting assistant general manager Anthony Parker to be the Magic's new general manager, and also promoting associate general manager Pete D'Alessandro to be the new executive vice president of basketball operations. Luke, John Hammond, 60 years old. He's going to be 69 in a couple weeks here. Worked 32 years in the NBA, won a title as an executive with the Detroit Pistons in 2004, and then won the 2010 NBA Executive of the Year award as the general manager for the Milwaukee Bucks before coming to the Magic with Jeff Weltman in 2017. And Anthony Parker was the general manager of the Lakeland Magic before becoming the assistant general manager for the Orlando Magic, and helped win the G League championship for the then Lakeland Magic back in 2021. Luke, thoughts on the news and then just kind of reactions to the promotions?
Yeah, I'm very interested. First, I'm glad to see that they're going this route, that they're promoting from within, shows that they trust the team in place. There's nothing wrong with the team, right? It's not, oh, there's, whatever, right? Altercation within the team, turmoil. They're not clearing house. It's just simply John Hammond stepping into a new role, less responsibility, moving into the next phases of his life. So I think it is just good news for Magic fans that they are promoting from within, first of all. Second of all, congratulations to Anthony Parker. Anthony Parker was the general manager in Lakeland when I was working there in 2018. Should have won a championship in 2018, but Theo Pinson had other ideas in the Eastern Conference Finals. That Lakeland Magic team was a lot of fun. Obviously, I'm biased, but it was a great group from top to bottom, and that started with Anthony Parker. And I can just speak from my experience, my conversations with Anthony Parker. Anthony Parker, after I was long gone with Lakeland, took the time to talk with me, right? Like, this is a guy who is just really top, high-class character. So I remember I had a Zoom meeting with him in 2019 or 2020 at my apartment in Omaha, Nebraska, when I was removed from working within the Magic organization. And it meant a lot to me that he took the time. I shot him a text, told him I'd love to pick his brain, and we had a conversation. And I want to say that conversation was 45 minutes to an hour long, where he was just an open book. Ask me whatever you want. I didn't really give much premise as to why I wanted to have a conversation with him. And it didn't matter to him. He sat down. He's super genuine. I think that translates. You treat people well, they treat you well. And the Magic organization obviously values AP. And I'm just super happy for him. He deserves everything coming his way. And I'm very happy for him, but also interested to see how this works. You and I have had the conversation, right? But what do you think this means as far as an operational standpoint? Do you foresee that it creates any type of differences, or are we seeing pretty much the same ship that's ran?
I think it's pretty much the same ship that's ran. So any Magic fan that saw that news on Wednesday and freaked out about it, I don't think it's a big deal in a negative light, at least for the Magic. I think it's a big deal in the sense of just kind of getting some new blood in there from, promoting from within. Obviously, it's a huge opportunity for Anthony Parker and another opportunity for Pete D'Alessandro as well. It's good for John Hammond. Definitely going to miss his interviews with the media because he was like the only person that would tell us what like they were actually doing. So especially his interviews with our buddy Brandon Kravitz on 96.9 The Game, always tuned into those. Those were like appointment radio listens because be like, oh, that's actually what they're thinking. Okay, thank you for letting us know what's actually going on, John Hammond. But excited for him, obviously. But no, I don't think this changes anything. Like it's not going to change the strategy or the vision for this team or like the team building philosophy at all. The odds are that Anthony Parker was being prepared for this position for a long time and has probably had some, input into decisions being made with the Magic for quite some time. So this isn't really as huge of a move as it might seem. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, you like I said, promoting from within, you're promoting guys that know how it goes. You don't have to worry about Anthony Parker opening his mouth on a radio segment or a podcast. Like, you don't have to worry about that stuff because he knows the drill. He knows exactly what Weltman wants. And he's, like you said, he's been kind of prepared and I'm sure mentored to get to the point where he is in his career. I doubt that it changes much of anything. I hope that we get to see Anthony on, 96.9 The Game, making appearances, all over, just because it is nice to get someone else's opinion and just the way that they present things. I'm very excited to see how that goes.
Just to give you some more background on Anthony Parker, if you are not familiar, was the 21st pick in the first round in the 1997 draft, selected by the New Jersey Nets. Never played for the Nets, but played for the Philadelphia 76ers, played 16 games for the Orlando Magic in the 99-2000 season. but then went on to play internationally, was a 3-time EuroLeague champion, was a 2-time EuroLeague MVP, as well as a 5-time Israeli Super League champion and Israeli Super League MVP in 2004. Finish up his playing career in 2012 with the Cleveland Cavaliers, where he almost immediately transitioned into a role with the Orlando Magic as a scout from 2012 to 2017, before becoming the Lakeland Magic, well, then Lakeland Magic, now Osceola Magic, general manager in 2017, and then in 2021 was promoted to the main Orlando Magic club as the assistant general manager. So has been with the Orlando Magic organization for 11 years and spent some time here even before that back in 2000. So he's definitely used to the way that business is ran here and has been kind of this part of his career. He's been almost like raised through the Orlando Magic organization. So this is very much going to be business as usual. Just going to be a great elevation and promotion for Anthony Parker. Luke, last thing that I wanted to talk about before we close out today's episode is this is our last episode before the Magic start Summer League on Saturday. So just thought it would be helpful to just go through and talk about the Orlando Magic Summer League roster. And it's pretty thick this year. I'll go ahead and say that. Just going to go through and talk about some of these guys here. Obviously, Anthony Black, Caleb Houston, second year for the Magic, is going to be playing in Summer League. Kevon Harris, this is going to be his, I believe, second year as well, playing Summer League for the Magic, on the 2-way contract with the Orlando Magic. Jet Howard as well, but then Tiger Campbell, who is a guard out of UCLA, J.C. Butler, a forward out of UC Irvine, Amari Hardy out of Oregon, Odyssey Tony out of Arkansas, knows Anthony Black very, very well, DJ Wilson out of Michigan, who I believe was he a first round pick a few years ago for the Milwaukee Bucks. That would be somebody that I would keep our eye on potentially for a 2-way contract. I don't know, given his time in the league, if he is eligible for a 2-way contract at this time. This is showing that he's had 4 seasons in the league already. Tyler Hall out of Montana State, Quindary Weatherspoon out of Mississippi State, Drake Jeffries out of Wyoming, Elijah Hughes out of Syracuse, Dexter Dennis out of Texas A&M, Robert Baker II out of Harvard, Malcolm Hill out of Illinois, Montez Mathis out of St. John's, Jamal Bay out of Washington, Elijah Williams out of Northwestern. I'm sure our boy Philip Rossman Reich is excited about that one. Malik Ellison out of Hartford, Davion Warren out of Texas Tech, and Kai Soto out of the Philippines, who played in the second division of the Japanese league this past season, if I'm not mistaken. Luke, I mean, out of the guys that we expect to be on the Orlando Magic roster in one way or the other, are there really any of these guys that you have on your radar or excited to see play?
Obviously, any Magic of the Magic players, Anthony Black, Caleb Houston, Kevon Harris, Jet Howard, those guys. DJ Wilson is super intriguing to me. I mean, you already said it. He was the 17th pick in the 2017 NBA draft by the Milwaukee Bucks. Who knows? But it's always an interesting time to see who's able to rise to the top and who's not. Kai Soto, we all know he's got the following. I'm very interested to see how it plays out for Kai Soto. Is he going to get the start in the first game? His popularity would suggest that, but I don't know that his production on the court suggests that. That will be intriguing to see how it plays out. I really quickly, Jonathan, we've talked about this before. Summer League is not a direct reflection of a player's career. In fact, it's very misleading for some players. I was listening to Nick's Film School with the Blue Wire family. I was listening to the latest episode, and they were Jonathan Macri was talking about how when Kevin Knox and Andrew Claudio, their producer, they were co-hosting, and they were talking about how Kevin Knox at the end of the second quarter in a summer league game, maybe his debut, went crazy, hit a few threes, and at the end of that quarter, and the Knicks were just convinced that Kevin Knox was going to be him. And as we know, Kevin Knox is in fact not him, and that just kind of goes to show what summer league really is. It's just a scrimmage that happens to be televised, and it's not to be taken too seriously. It is a lot of fun. Our team is playing regardless, and we get to see our young talent. I wanted to give you some insight, Jonathan, on the best summer league performances of all time. We'll start with number 5. I'll go through them pretty quickly here. Number 5 is Josh Hart. Okay, Josh Hart, he averaged 24 points and 5 rebounds, 1.5 steals per contest to win this 2018 Summer League MVP award. All right. The next one, this also, after this one, it goes downhill. Number 4, Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell had a tournament high 37 points to go with 8 steals in a game between the Jazz and the Grizzlies. Great outing by him. Kyle Kuzma. Number 3, one of the top prospects to play in the league in his first 2 seasons with the Lakers. He scored 30 points on the night to go, along with 10 rebounds, shooting 11 of 16 from the field. He has shown he can be pretty productive. Now, number 2, Magic legend, Von Wafer. He had a record-tying at the time 42 points in a game against the New York Knicks in Summer League. And number 1, my favorite of all here, Anthony Morrow. Anthony Morrow produced a record-breaking 47-point performance in the 2009 Summer League tournament. He shot 18 of 26 from the field. That's when in that Summer League, he played for the Golden State Warriors. Morrow broke Marcus Banks and Von Wafer's record of scoring the most points in an NBA Summer League game by a player. His record has stood for now, however long that is, 13 years. So there you go. You got a mixed bag, but at the top were the guys that really didn't have, Von Wafer had somewhat of an NBA career, right? But never was a high producer. You just can't get too high or too low about these games. What I can say, if they have a bad game, it doesn't mean much. We've always kind of reflected back on Franz Wagner. If they have great games, that doesn't mean it's not anything, but it also doesn't mean that it's something. And you just kind of hope that they continue that play in the regular season. A lot of times they don't. That's some bad basketball out there, but it should be fun nonetheless.
Yeah, just to add to your point about Franz Wagner. So Franz, in his summer league, his rookie year, averaged 8 points, 3.8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1.2 steals, and legitimately did not look good. Mm-hmm. And has obviously very much proven that to not be the case. So don't take anything from summer league good or bad. Like RJ Hampton last year, we were all ready to cut RJ Hampton. Now RJ Hampton has been cut twice now by the Magic and most recently by the Detroit Pistons. I'm still a believer in RJ Hampton, and at times during that 5-20 stretch last year, RJ Hampton was legitimately our best guard. So we were ready to cut him. In summer league, looked pretty good, to start the season last year. So don't overreact one way or another. If you see good things, it's a good sign. If you see bad things, it may be a bad sign, but it could also mean nothing. If you see good things, it could also mean nothing. So just watch summer league, watch how guys play together, have fun, but please do not put too much stock into what you're seeing. For me, it's also going to be DJ Wilson. Now, for some reason, I have this feeling in my mind that when you're past a certain many number of years in terms of experience in the NBA, that you are not eligible for a 2-way contract. I could be mistaken on that. But I remember watching DJ Wilson play for the Bucks a number of years ago and thought he showed a lot of potential. I'm pretty sure he has a ring from the Milwaukee Bucks because he played 12 games for them in 2020, 2021, the year that they won the title. So NBA champion DJ Wilson playing for the Orlando Magic Summer League roster. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, Kai Soto is going to be interesting as well. It's just him and Robert Baker II who are listed as the centers on this team. Robert Baker being a 6'11", forward/center as he's listed here. I'm looking at the Orlando Magic site right now. So it'll be interesting to see who starts there, but really focusing on Anthony Black, Jet Howard, and Caleb Houston. I'm really excited to see how Caleb Houston has expanded his game and how he might have improved since the last time that we saw him. I still think, regardless of, unless he makes a massive leap, he's going to have a pretty tough path to finding minutes this year. But, I'm in this for the long haul with Caleb Houston.
Yeah, and also to your point, Robert Baker II played for the Lakeland Magic last year, averaging in 25 minutes 11 points and 7 rebounds, almost 2 assists. And so I think I would venture to say, just for continuity's sake, Robert Baker could get the start over Kai Soto, at least for the beginning of the Summer League tournament and appearance. But yeah, that's just a little bit of background there for Robert Baker II, played for Lakeland. Or Osceola, sorry.
All right, I think that is going to do it for this one, Luke, unless you have anything else.
No, I'll go on my end.
All right, let's wrap it up, folks. Don't forget, again, coming up on Saturday, the 8th at 5:30, Magic are going to be taking on the Detroit Pistons in their first Summer League game. We're going to see the Summer League debut of Anthony Black and Jet Howard. Producer Kevin is going to be hosting a watch party on Playback. We're going to post all the links to social media, so be on the lookout for that. Who knows? You might be able to be part of the show. So looking forward to that. And just looking forward to having some Magic basketball again and looking forward to seeing these rookies. So that'll do it for us. For Luke Sylvia, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the Sixth Man Show. We will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!